All right, guys, so welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Eric Paulzine with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the Sunday night showdown picks here for you guys for week 3. We got the Denver Broncos versus the San Francisco 49ers, a game in which could be low scoring. That's kind of what Vegas is suggesting, but it's a game that you can attack. There is maybe some value, okay, and we'll touch on that in this video. So what I mean by there may be some value is that a lot of the Denver Broncos receivers are currently questionable. It does look like both of them are going to play. With Jerry Jeudy, he was questionable. It is looking like he's going to play. He was forced out of the week 2 game, which then elevated someone like Kendall Hinton to get like 70% of the snaps in week 2, which was a little bit of a shock. Like, I thought that was going to be some good value for us on the slate, and it still could be a little bit of value. He is still elevated from the practice squad, so he's going to play in this game. And that might suggest that actually KJ Hamler, another receiver for the Denver Broncos, might not get a full allotment of snaps as like a starter. Okay, it is expected that he is going to be their slot receiver, and it does kind of seem like that is somewhat what this offense has been missing, is kind of that go-to kind of slot receiver. That could be KJ Hamler. So he is a decent value on the slate, I think. He'd be the one that I kind of like, that the one that I want to get risky with. You know, it's a little bit of that unknown. We don't know what we're going to get out of KJ Hamler, but I kind of like that because I do think the upside is there for him to go for 60 yards on, I don't know, 8 catches or something like that. Get a lot of those dump off passes that have actually been going to Javonte Williams and also Melvin Gordon. You know, we saw that a lot in week 1 to Javonte Williams, and then Melvin Gordon as well. Like, Melvin Gordon's at an okay price point. We saw it get corrected a little bit, I guess, in week 2. So that's the problem, is that it did look like on the Denver side of it, at least we're going to get some value. And the free play of Andrew Beck from week 1, I don't think we're going to get that this time. It was weird. They did try to go to him again in week 2 with like this design play that was supposed to go to him. It didn't work out. I don't think he's going to see as big of a role. Okay, we don't have that surprising Andrew Beck call this week, guys, for the Broncos at least. If we did have to go with the value, though, I do think it would be Kendall Hinton. If you guys wanted to go that route, you could. Okay, so from there, like, what are we trying to do on the Denver Broncos side? I do worry about Russell Wilson a little bit, although I do think the San Francisco defense has somewhat benefited from playing, two kind of, I don't want to say easier games for them, but games in which would make them look better than they are defensively. Now, do I want to pay for Russell Wilson? Not exactly. You know, he did play well against Seattle, but against the Houston Texans, who are seen as actually just a decent team, he sucked. That offense just was not working for some reason. I don't know. Like, I do think Russell Wilson in primetime is going to show up, but I just, at this price point, like, I don't think he's like a must play. I don't think he's someone that you're going out of your way to play as the highest, like, Denver Broncos player. I do think Javonte Williams is going to have a solid game. I definitely like Javonte Williams in this game. Is he going to go for 20 DK points? Probably not. Could he go for 12 DK points? Probably. It really comes down to guessing right between Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. I don't know. I've kind of been picking one or the other. I do really like Courtland Sutherland in this game, who, went from 7 targets in week 1 just because all the running backs, or Javonte Williams had like 12 targets in week 1. We saw that get corrected in week 2. We saw him get 11 targets. I do think he is going to be one of those players that we can just lock into double-digit DK points. And on this slate, in which is supposed to be low scoring, I think that is something we want to chase. We want to chase that safety. I think Courtland Sutton give us that safety. Jerry Jeudy did have a good week 1, okay, but it was a lot just due to one play in which he broke a tackle for a big touchdown, okay? He got injured in week 2, and he's going to be playing in this game. Will he be 100%? That is the question. He does have a rib injury. We could see that be like one play, and then he gets hit. We just don't know what to expect with that rib injury. He's a fine play at this price point. Like, you can play him. I don't mind that. I would much just rather play KJ Hamler at his price point. Like I said, I think that's a good value. That's really it. Like, if you want to play the Broncos defense, you could. If you want to go with the kicker, you could. Kendall Hinton for a value play, you can certainly go with if that's the route that you want to go. Okay, now flipping over into the San Francisco 49ers side of the ball. You got Jimmy G, who, relatively speaking, kind of cheap. I don't think I like him as a play going against the Denver Broncos, who have looked like a good defense. Like, that is just not something that I personally want to chase. I do think this offense is going to continue to flow through Deebo Samuel like it has. The biggest difference is that George Kittle is back in this game. We did see a little bit last year when George Kittle was active. It did kind of hinder Deebo Samuel's role. Okay, that's the worry with him. I do think Deebo Samuel is still going to get work in the rushing game. Okay, he's had 5 and 12 DK points rushing the ball through 2 weeks. That's pretty solid. He is still going to get his touches in the passing game. We know that. Okay, and just having George Kittle back should open up that offense a little bit more. Okay, yes, I do want to pay up for Deebo Samuel, but I equally want to pay up for George Kittle. We saw them be kind of cautious with George Kittle. They want him to be 100%. Okay, they kind of thought they could win the first 2 games with him being inactive. Okay, and we did see Ross Dwelley go off and have a decent game in week 2 against Seattle. Okay, I could see George Kittle having a very strong game going against the Denver Broncos, who, if they have a weakness defensively, it has been against the tight ends. Sure, George Kittle is priced up a little bit, but I do like George Kittle as kind of a pay down play. Like, this is probably going to be the cheapest we will get him on a slate all year for showdown purposes. Okay, I like that. I like that route. From there, Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is someone that we all kind of thought would be a better player, with Deebo Samuel kind of taking on more of a, I don't want to say gadget player role, but more of a kind of coming across before the play, in motion, trying to get the ball to him quickly. That meant that Brandon Ayuk would be more of the downfield receiver that we saw him be kind of at the late end of the season last year. I do think the consistency for Brandon Ayuk is going to be there. 8 targets a game probably is going to be the norm for him. So those targets are going to be there for him once again in this game, even with George Kittle there. I could see Brandon Ayuk being a play that gets, 8 or so DK points, maybe upside of 15 DK points. So Brandon Ayuk at his price point is also a decent value play that I like on this slate. Now, do you have to play Jeff Wilson Jr.? That is for you to decide. I don't exactly love him. Okay, he's very much a TD dependent play, and they did just activate Marlon Mack, obviously due to the 2 other running backs being injured for the Niners. Okay, so it could be Marlon Mack, or it could be, and I think this is going to be the value route that everyone goes with on this slate, it could be Jordan Mason. Okay, Jordan Mason has not played a snap yet, but he is kind of expected to be the RB number 2. A lot of people out of training camp kind of thought he could be the RB2 in this offense. I was one of them. Okay, I kind of told you guys during preseason NFL DFS that, Jordan Mason has made the roster. Trey Sermon needs to play his way back onto the roster in that final preseason game. Okay, Trey Sermon didn't do that. He ended up getting cut. Wasn't that shocking? That was because Jordan Mason had played so well. They didn't want to lose Jordan Mason potentially. So Jordan Mason I do like as a value play. Like, could he get to 4X at this price point? He could. Okay. Can he get like 2 catches for 15 yards? He can. I don't hate Jordan Mason. I don't love him. If you find yourself in his price point range, that is the way I'm playing him. Okay. And I do want to point out that the Niners did really go with a fullback focused approach really once Jimmy G got into the game. Okay. So I could potentially see them getting Kyle Juszczyk involved in the game plan a little bit more. Now at 2.1, he is a little bit priced up. He's kind of priced out, but it wouldn't be shocking to see him get 3 catches for, however many yards. They're going to be for first down plays. Like, they're not going out of their way to get Kyle Juszczyk the ball downfield, but could he take advantage of, 3 opportunities and potentially score a short touchdown in the red zone? Like, sure, that could happen. Like, we're not counting on that. Okay. Fine value play. I think I'd rather go Jordan Mason there. So like, for a build like this is just kind of what has been happening. It's like, all right, who am I playing? Who am I ending up on? If you guys kind of are like me, you kind of end up on Melvin Gordon. You're kind of like, okay, that works. I'm fine with that. Maybe you could switch it up and potentially go, okay, George Kittle is extremely cheap, probably the cheapest he'll ever be on a showdown slate this season. Let's put him in there. And then you're just kind of stuck at this weird price point with these players that I have in there. That's the worry. It's that, like, I don't love the price points that I've been getting up on when I go George Kittle in the captain spot. And kind of same thing for KJ Hamler here. A little bit better though, because then you could almost fit in like Jeff Wilson Jr. I thought you could. Let's try to find a route in which you can. Yeah, I wish I could fit in Jeff Wilson Jr. into that build with them. But this is the problem here, guys. It's that, like, we're going to have to fade one of my favorite players on this slate. And maybe it is KJ Hamler. Maybe you just pay down for a different value play. Maybe you go with Kendall Hinton instead. So let's try to do that instead. So here's a lineup that I don't mind. We got Cortland Sutton, who I think is going to be a safe play. We got him in the captain spot. Then you got George Kittle, who I equally like. Jerry Jeudy running it back with. Then you got Deebo Samuel, who, obviously, like the 2 captains plays, like, just not considering price point that I like the most, are going to be Cortland Sutton and Deebo Samuel. Okay, that is, pretty solid to me. We're getting the value play in Kendall Hinton. Don't love it. Okay. And then Brandon Ayuk, who should be a safe play. Like, this build should have a nice safe floor. Do I particularly love Jerry Jeudy on the slate? I don't. Okay. I don't love him as a play. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you could go down from Javonte, maybe go Hinton at the captain spot. This would be one of those situations in which you're just trying to fit all the studs in because you don't think anyone particular is going to go off. You kind of think the wealth is going to be spread out, and that's a way in which you could fit in like all the studs. Now, obviously, we don't like this once again, like, you don't want to go that route, but it is a path that you could go with it if you felt the need to. Okay, and that's kind of the issue. If I could play a defense, if I could play a kicker, I'd feel better about that. And that's kind of for you guys to decide where you want to go. Okay, that's kind of the unfortunate side of it, is that I'm not seeing an optimal lineup approach, but there are some decent lineup paths that you can go with. There are some lineup paths in which I think can be profitable. So it's just coming down to which decisions you guys want to make on the slate. Do you want to play 2 kickers? Do you want to play 1 kicker? Or do you want to play a quarterback? Can Russell Wilson rush for a touchdown? Can Jimmy G get a quarterback sneak for a touchdown? That's probably going to be the difference maker on the slate. Like Thursday Night Football, that slate was decided by the last play of the game. A lucky scoop touchdown into the end zone. A lot of people benefited from that Browns defensive touchdown a lot. Okay, that decided the slate. And that'll probably be what decides this slate, because it is one in which could be a grinder, tough to watch game. All right, but that's all I have for you guys for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. Let's have a good Sunday Night Football slate. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.